You might remember we covered all the words from 1 to 9. So this is the 10th word. This is a very big word. So I'm taking some parts out and then I'm putting some explanations. So inshallah, this might take a couple of weeks, the 10th word. But next week, there's a holiday break, the Easter break here, 4 days. It's a long weekend. So we're not going to have a class next week. We will continue the following week, inshallah. So I'll commence, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The 10th word, words from the RISALE-I NUR collection. So it starts like this. Brother, if you wish for a discussion of resurrection, Hashir, life after death, and the hereafter in simple and common language, in a straightforward style, then listen to the following comparison or allegory, together with my own soul, with my own nafs. As you know, Ustad Bediüzzaman always starts like that, most of his risales. Listen to this analogy with my own soul. Once two men were traveling through a land as beautiful as paradise. By that land, we mean this world. Looking around them, they saw that everyone had left open the door of his home and his shop and was not paying attention and guarding it. So they're going through this land, beautiful land, and they're going through this city, let us say, these two friends, and they look, everyone had left their, doors of their homes open, their shops door open, they just leave it empty, they don't guard it. Money and property were readily accessible without anyone to claim them. It's all over the place. One of two travelers grasped hold of all that he fancied. So one of them started grabbing all that he fancied, stealing and usurping it. Sorry? Oh. Yeah. Yes. Usurping it. Following his inclinations, he committed every kind of injustice and abomination. So he started grabbing people's money, jewelry, valuables, as he wishes, because all the doors of the shops and everything is open. None of the people in that land moved to stop him. Nobody even tried to stop him from doing this. But his friend said to him, "What are you doing? You will be punished, and I will be dragged into misfortune along with you. All this property belongs to the state." So all of it belongs to the state. The people of this land, including even the children, are all soldiers or government servants. It is because they are at present civilians that they are not interfering with you. But the laws are strict. The king has installed telephones everywhere, or listening devices everywhere. And his agents are everywhere as well. They can see you. They can see what you're doing, and they are recording what you're doing. Go quickly and try to settle this matter. Don't make this mistake. But the ignorant man, his friend, said in obstinacy, "No, it is not the state's property. It belongs instead to someone or some endowment and has no clear or obvious owner." These places don't have obvious, clear owner. Everyone can make use of it as he sees fit. I see no reason to deny myself the use of these fine things. Why should I be limited? I will not believe that they belong to anyone unless I see this king, this sultan, the owner with my own eyes. He continued to speak in this way with much philosophical sophistry, and an earnest discussion took place between them. So they started to debate on it. The ignorant man said, "Who is the king here? I can't see him." And then his friend replied, "Every village must have its headsman, headman. Every needle must have its manufacturer and craftsman. And as you know, every letter must be written by someone. How can it be that so extremely well-ordered kingdom should have no ruler? Look at this place. He says it's all very well-ordered, in harmony, you know. This land you see, in reality, is a testing ground. In addition, it is an exhibition of the Sultan's wonderful arts. It can also be regarded as a temporary hospice, one devoid of foundation. So it's a temporal place where guests come, stay for a while, and then leave. And they stay there as guests of the Sultan. The place doesn't belong to them. Do you not see that every day one caravan arrives as another departs and vanishes? It is being constantly emptied and filled again, this place. Soon the whole land will be changed. Its inhabitants will depart for another and more lasting realm, place. There, everyone will be either rewarded or punished in accordance with his services, his or her services. So he says, look around you, be logical. You know, this has to belong to someone. You know, all these valuable things, everything is working, you know, with perfection. You can see there are laws here. You can see there is, you know, harmony here. You can see order here. It has to belong to someone. And it belongs to a sultan, very powerful sultan, who allows you to be a guest in this hospice for a temporal period. But you can see that, you know, a caravan arrives, caravan indicating that all living beings, they come from one side, you know, and then from the other side, the caravan leaves, you know. Hundreds and thousands of people come to this place every day, and from the other side, they leave again. Nothing stays the same in this world, in this universe. So they will all eventually depart, everyone, from this world to another world, which is everlasting. And there they will either be rewarded or punished in accordance with their services, in accordance with what they do in this world. Just as the noble prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says, you know, everyone dies as they live, and everyone is resurrected as they died. I mentioned this once before, and Hoca Efendi says, you can take this hadith from Ma'nai Mu'allif, from the other perspective, and say, however you want to die, you should live that way. You know, they have that saying, you know, he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. You know, you die according to how you live. So we can see that there is life after death. There are many evidences to it. And belief in resurrection, Hashir, is one of the six articles of Aqidah in Islam, creed. So if someone denies, you know, resurrection, Hashir, they become an unbeliever, even if they accepted the rest. So you can accept five as articles of Iman. If you deny resurrection, you become a disbeliever. So we know that one of the biggest human reality is death. All of us come to this world at a time assigned by Almighty Allah, and then leave at a time decided by Him as well. You know, nobody decides on, you know, exactly what time they're going to come to this world. They don't decide how they will be. Will they be male, female, human, non-human? None of us make those decisions. And when we go, when it's time, He decides our time of death as well. In Islamic teachings, everyone who enters the grave after their death, they will be questioned about their lives. The first three questions asked to them are, who is your Lord? Who is your prophet? And what is your religion? The first three questions in Alem-i Barzakh will be these questions. So as you can see, the first questions that we are asked is to do with Iman, not with to do with Amal, with practice, not with our actions, but with our Iman. Because if we don't pass the test about Iman, our actions will have no value. So Iman comes first. And actions become valuable because of that Iman. You know, you can think of Iman like the number one. You know, after the number one, you can put as many as zeros you like. It'll increase the value. But if you don't have that number one there, you can have 1,000,000 zeros equal zero. There will be no value. So Iman makes Amal valuable. So what do these questions mean? In testifying to the six articles of faith, Muslims state, وَالْبَعْثُ بَعْدَ الْمَوْتِ, and we believe in resurrection after death. The Holy Quran states that this life is a life of testing. It is for this reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created life and death. And the famous, verse that we repeat all the time from Surah Mulk, الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. So the Quran says, I have created death and life so that I may test you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. That's for the purpose of testing this world. The Holy Quran also states that once the test is over, human beings will be resurrected for the final day, which is Yawmiddin, the day of Deen. According to some scholars, the day of Deen will be about 50,000 years. It is, the period of, judgment will be about 50,000 years. So the Quran again says, إِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَمُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. So indeed, Allah will give life to the dead, and He is powerful over all things. So He has the infinite power. He has power over all things. Just as He can create life out of nothing, He can also create life from a being or an organic, whether non-organic as well, being who has died, so He can reanimate them again. He has no limits to His power. It is possible to prove physical resurrection. Arguments can be grouped into 5 main proofs of resurrection. One, or the first one, is Allah promises in the Quran that we will be resurrected. If somebody asks for proof of resurrection, ba'thu ba'd al-mawt, the first proof we can give, because Allah promises in the Quran that we will be resurrected. Even that's enough of an evidence. If the Almighty said, I will resurrect you, He will resurrect us. The second evidence is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all the prophets before him confirmed it. They all confirmed the same thing. In fact, 124,000 of them. They all confirmed the same reality. Number 3 is the signs that God has placed in the natural world as argued by the Quran, because the Quran says Allah placed many signs, many ayats in the natural world. So they all indicate to life after death as well, which will be explained. And then the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also necessitate life after death. If we look at the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will see that His names and attributes also indicate or necessitate a life after death. So they are the sifat and asma of Allah. And the last one is the unique human condition indicating an afterlife as well. So we can have a look at them one by one, but we'll have a look at the Quranic evidence first. If you study the Quran, you will see that 22.5% of the Quran focuses on life after death. You know how sometimes, even amongst Muslims, we get caught up in very tiny things and we start debating and debating and debating over them. Very simple things, insignificant things when you think about it. But in reality, if you look at the Quran, you know, almost 1/4 of the Quran talks about life after death, not worldly issues. The other 1/4 is about Tawheed. Again, it's to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the things that we debate on, little practical things, should you do this like this? Should you do that like that? Maybe about 3-4% of the Quran, no more than that. Therefore, a person, so the Quran says, you know, as I said, 1/4 of the Quran says there's life after death and talks about it. It is a promise made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that humans will be resurrected. And Allah does not turn on his promise. He always honors his promise. He's not like humans. He's not like us, other beings. Why? Because one of his names is Sadiq al-Wad. When he gives a wad, he fulfills it. Therefore, a person who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by default knows that there will be a life after death. It is by default. In fact, life after death, I can tell you that, as real as the world that we are living in now, as real as that. Everything in life has its corresponding item. For example, Allah has created the eye and in response created the light, or vice versa, the other way around. He created the ear and he created sound. He created the stomach. He created sustenance, food. So they are matching each other. One has a need and the need is created as well. We see this in nature, yeah? Out of 8.7 million species on Earth, only human beings have the desire for eternal life. Only us, we have that desire. Because the rest of the animal kingdom does not even know what eternity is, does not even know what resurrection is, does not even know what life after death is. They are not equipped with that intellect, with that knowledge, with that awareness, with that cognitive skills. It is us who have that feeling, humans. We don't want to die. Even if we die, we want to still exist. We want to live for eternity. We have that. If we listen to our hearts, we will all hear it. You know, when our heart beats, you know, it says eternity, eternity, eternity. But as we said, Allah gives every need on earth. We see Allah provides every need. Whatever need you have, He has created it. Everything. Not only our need, even the needs of an ant, a bacteria, everything. The need of every creation is supplied by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as we said, we have, as human beings, we have this unique side, which animals do not have. We have these additional needs as humans. It's part of our psychology, part of our soul, part of our infinite desires. Our desires never end. And as I mentioned many times, none of us wants to get old. None of us wants to get sick. None of us wants to, you know, be poor, struggle. None of us in reality want to work. We want everything be ready for us. As you might remember, I mentioned the reason for that too, because our watan asli, our real, you know, place of creation is Jannah. our Father was created in Jannah, paradise, where there was no work, there was no aging. Everything was ready there. So we have that in our fitra. Fitra is the natural disposition. That's how we are created. So if there was no life after death, Allah who provides all needs, then why did he give us this need for eternity? Why did he give us this feeling? As you might remember, Mehmet Kırkıncı, one of the students of Bediüzzaman Said Nursi, he famously said, if he did not want to give, he would not have given the feeling of want. If Allah did not want to give, he would not have given that feeling to us. We would not be even aware of an eternal life. We would not be aware of life after death. None of those things. We would have lived like the rest of the creation. Our moment, because the rest of the creation lives their moment. They don't think about the future because they don't know what the future is. They live that moment. So if Allah gave this feeling to us, this feeling of need to exist, need to live for eternity, that means he's going to give eternity to us as well. Allah displays his power of creation on earth. Imagine a king who builds a palace within days by summoning its parts from all corners of the world. The palace is made up of parts that can only be found in certain parts of the world, such as diamonds, rubies, emeralds, sapphires, gold, silver, etc. So this king, very powerful king, is building a palace, but the palace is made up of things that are found in different parts of the world. He's getting them together and building a palace. As observers, we are seeing this palace built before our very eyes. Yet there are no visible builders. We see the palace being built, but we can't see any builders doing the building work. Now, the human body is that palace. And it is made up of amino acids, proteins, sugars, water, minerals, and so on. These organic substances come from food we consume and liquids we drink, various other things that we consume. Things we put into our bodies transform into bones, flesh, blood, cells, various other things. Yeah, that it's necessary for us to survive. But you look at all these things coming from different parts of the world, going into our bodies and turning into flesh. So the palace is being built, but we don't see any visible builders, do we? No, but there is a builder there. There is a designer there. Like, for example, some of the things that we consume comes all over the globe. For example, we consume coffee from Brazil, bananas from Coffs Harbour, mangoes from Queensland, some part of Queensland, or even many of Malaysia or Cairns, many other places. Kiwi from New Zealand, for example. We have no power over what happens to them in our bodies. Do we turn these foods into the necessary elements that our body needs? Is it we who do that process? Do we turn milk into calcium and send it to whatever it's needed in our body? No. We are not in charge at all. We have no power over what happens to them in our bodies, yet a powerful sultan organizes everything all the way to subatomic particles so that our lives are sustained and maintained. So some powerful king is maintaining our body, sustaining our body and keeping us alive. And we have no involvement in it. The only involvement that we have, we drag the air in, we drink the water, and we eat the food. That's all. What happens afterward, we have no control over it. Even the oxygen we breathe into our lungs, do we have any control over afterwards what happens to it? How it's picked up by red blood cells, carried through our, blood system, taken to all the cells that need them, certain amounts, whatever they needed, they take that much. So we have no control over any of these things. If this sultan decides, the king decides to pull the entire palace of this human body apart, who can claim that he cannot put it back together again? He's building it in front of you anyway. He's doing it. You can see it. You start off with a drop of liquid, semen, and you consider it as the filthy, dirty. If it rubs onto you, you try to wash it away. But you started from that, a drop of liquid. And then you transformed into an embryo and then into a fetus. And then you started growing legs, heads, all of these things from that little tiny thing. And you came to this world. The palace continues to be built, this body. And the powerful sultan is doing this. And then when the time comes, he pulls this palace apart. And then someone comes and says, he can't put it back together again. Any logic in that? He's already showing you that he can do it. By the testimony of both friend and foe, friend and enemies, Prophet Muhammad والسلام, has never lied in his life or exaggerated. If you look at all the sayings, prophetic tradition, the hadith of the noble prophet, sunnah of the noble prophet والسلام, you will not see one lie in his life. As I mentioned many times, even in his jokes, he does not lie. He jokes with the truth as well. He never lied in his life. And his biggest enemies confirm this as well. People who wanted to kill him at that time during the Meccan era, people like Abu Sufyan, he said, Muhammad never lies. His enemy, he wanted to kill him, but he said he never lies. He states that life after death is a certainty. So our beloved prophet, who never lied in his life, states that life after death is a certainty. All the prophets who came before him said and confirmed the same thing. All righteous people who came after him also confirmed the same thing. According to Bediüzzaman Said Nursi, he says there have been 124,000 prophets based on the hadith. He says they all confirm that there's life after death. And after the prophet, he says 124 million scholars, saints, awliya, they all said the same thing as well. They all confirm the same thing. And they're all righteous people, reliable people. This means that there is a consensus between millions of truthful and trustworthy people who all affirm that there is life after death. They all affirm it. Also to do with prophetic evidence. I like using this example. Some of you heard it before, but there are people online too. They may be hearing it for the first time. Also, it's being recorded. It will be good for the people who are listening to it as well. Philosophical logic states that there is life after death as well. Philosophical logic now. Think about a person who is a known liar in the community. You know that person, everyone knows in the suburb that that person always lies, all right? One day you are at a gathering somewhere when this person walks into the gathering and shouts, "Your house is on fire." Your first reaction would be, we know this guy always lies, so he's lying again. You won't take any notice of him. But what if about 10 minutes later another person walks in shouting, "Your house is on fire"? And then 5 minutes later, another person comes in and says, your house is on fire. You would be running towards your house. Because 3 people came at different time and they're all saying the same thing. There is a consensus. There's a confirmation there. You know, even according to today's modern law, they, give prison sentences. They convict people, judges, even 1 or 2 people's testimony. If they say we solved this, they get a conviction, isn't it? They confirm it. Now, according to the hadith, as I mentioned before, 124,000 prophets have came. Most came at different times in history, and those who came at the same time served in different regions of the world. These people have never lied in their lives, and they all say the same thing. Imagine with 3 people saying that your house is on fire, you were running towards home. 124,000 people who never lied in their lives are saying there's life after death. Also, as I said, 124 million pious scholars who were also honest and reliable are saying the same thing. They are all confirming that there is life after death. So is it possible for thousands of trustworthy and truthful people who lived in different times and different locations to come together on a perpetual lie? Continue that lie. And they're all trustworthy, truthful people. So when we look at the signs placed on earth as argued by the Quran, the Holy Quran talks about God's mercy and how he gives life to earth after its death. There are many verses in the Quran, and you can see this all continuously. Like, for example, during spring and then during autumn and winter. Now we're going towards winter here in Australia, but we finished, summer and spring before that. But when spring comes, we see millions and billions of these tiny creatures appearing everywhere. All the trees are going green, giving fruits. And then when winter comes, they all die out, everything dries out, and then it rehappens again. So in a way, we are seeing hashir throughout our lives when we are here as well. And as I said on the list, names and attributes of God necessitates life after death. The names and attributes of Allah are eternal and infinite. None of them are limited. They are not araz. They did not have a beginning. They did not start at some point. Allah always had that names and attributes, and they are eternal and infinite. He created the universe and intellectual beings like humans so that the manifestations of his beautiful names can be observed. So the universe is really like an exhibition place where Allah's names are manifested, reflected. So people who have deep insight, profundity, people who can understand, they observe these manifestations, then they show their gratitude to the great provider or to the great artist, the greatest artist. Now, infinite names, since they are infinite, these names and attributes require infinite observers. Yeah. If the name is infinite, then it requires infinite observers, infinite beneficiaries. For example, who will benefit from eternal names like Rahman, Latif, Kerim, Ghani, if the universe ends and there is no life after death? If we all die and disappear, who's going to benefit from these names? Rahman, Latif, Kerim, Rahim. Who's going to benefit from these names? Who will be forgiven with the name Rahim? Tawwab, for example. If there is no judgment day, There is no true justice on earth. We have to realize you will never establish true justice on earth. As many tyrants get away with the genocide they commit on others. These days we see it openly, and they get away with it. And the world is just watching. They just watch. Nobody is doing anything about it. Little children have been killed, they are killed. No one is doing anything about it. So tyrants are getting away with genocide. Who will establish the true justice if the name Al-Adl does not manifest in the hereafter? Adl means all just. Allah is all just. So if there is not a great court case, accountability on the day of judgment, so what happens to all these imbalances in the world? Many people are victim on this side. On this side, people are living like kings. They're just stepping on other people like ants. And they live a comfortable life and die. Is that justice? There is no justice there. There is no true justice, as I said, in the world. And if the name Al-Adl does not manifest, then there will be no justice in life after death too, because there will be no life after death. So eternal compassion, because Allah Rahman and Rahim, as we said, eternal compassion necessitates life after death. If Allah is all compassionate and his compassion is everlasting, then there has to be a life after death. Because imagine a powerful, wealthy king who invites you to his palace. You are present at a magnificent feast and entertainment, but one by one, people begin to disappear from the palace. You are wondering what's happening to these people. You look out the window to see the palace guards are taking them to the garden where they are hanged one by one. So this king is invited you to his palace and he's giving you a feast. He's looking after you, but for a very short period of time. And then his guards are taking you out of the palace one by one and hanging you at the back. Now, would you say that this king is ruthless or compassionate? You would say ruthless, yeah? He fed you up for the kill. It's the reality. But Allah is not ruthless, hasha. He's compassionate. Which means, if you look at it from that perspective, people who are seemingly going on that rope to be hanged, that rope actually turns into a swing where everyone jumps on it and they are thrown to a better life from there. So death is not really the end, it is the beginning. Death really is maybe a salvation from this troublesome, full of hardships, difficulties of a world. And as I always use that example also, I like this example. That's why I use it in many different places in regards to, evidence for life after death, which is the baby in the mother's womb. I think that's a beautiful example, and it is based on the RISALE as well. Assuming that we can communicate with a baby in the mother's womb, can we convince the baby that there is a world outside the womb? Let us say the baby has intellect, it can speak with you and understand, and you are communicating somehow, all right, through earpieces or something like that. And you are saying to the baby that this is not the real world. You are here for a very brief time, 9 months or so. After this place, you will go to another world, which is much bigger. There's planes, there's sun, moon, stars, trees. It's an amazing place, oceans, It'll be very difficult for that baby to accept. Because for the baby, that little tiny world is the real world. That's what it's experiencing. It'll be very hard to convince that baby. However, if the baby is intelligent enough, it can use some sort of a psychological, philosophical argument, intellectual argument, to look at some signs that there is life after the womb, mother's womb. It can look at itself and it can say, why do I have eyes? There is nothing to see in here. It's all dark. Why do I have feet? There's nowhere to run and walk around in here. So in a way, it can look at certain things and it can say, all of these tools are perhaps given to me so that I can use them in another world, another realm, which makes sense. And we as human beings, when you think about it, we are also in a world is like the mother's womb here, this world. The earth is not a very big place. It is not a very big place, compared to the universe, compared to the life after death, Jannah, places like that. This world is very, very limited. It's very, very small. And we are not hardwired for this world, really. When we think about ourselves, we can figure out we are not really designed for this world. We are designed for somewhere else because we are unlike the rest of the creation. We are different in structure. So in a way, we can make that understanding that there is a life after death. So at this point, maybe this is the last point I can make. At this point, all evidence indicate that there is life after death. There are, of course, tons of evidences, both in the Quran, in the Sunnah. There are philosophical evidences, there are intellectual evidences. And when you gather them all together, it makes a very, very powerful case that there is life after death. Then the big question here is that every human being should ask to themselves. The first one is, are we prepared for it? If there is life after this, if we will all be held accountable, questioned for it, then are we prepared for it? What have we done for it? What have we done to prepare for it? When the time comes, this world may seem like fun and games to a lot of people. It may seem like that. But when you're put in there, in that grave, when everyone walks away from you, just leaves you there by yourselves. Just imagine that for a second. When you're lying down in your on your bed, the lights are off, it's dark. Just think about that you're in the grave. Think about it for a while. That is why our Prophet, beloved Prophet, والسلام, said, أكثروا ذكر هازم اللذات. Remember the thing that makes everything bitter. That's death. Remember it. Why? Because it is inevitable. None of us are going to get away from this. It is going to come and get all of us one by one. One by one. So the big question is, are we prepared for it? Are we living in a way that we can attain salvation? Is anyone listening now comfortable in the heart? Oh, I'm ready for it. I can answer all the questions in Berzakh. I'll be all right on the day of judgment. Do any of you feel like that? Then we're not prepared, are we? So may Allah allow us to be people who are prepared. May Allah allow us to live on his path, and be ready for death as well. There were people who were always ready. People have shown us this. I'll stop there, inshallah. Thank you for your participation, everyone.